boys. What is up, AFC North football fans, and welcome into another edition of the AFC North Roundtable powered by BetUS. Week 6 is in the books, and tonight we turn the page to Week 7 to preview an awesome slate of games upcoming this weekend within the AFC North. So without further ado, let's bring in the fellas, Bobby, Zay, Bubba, and Zim. Fellas, a lot of good games this upcoming weekend. We have an interdivisional game, we have a Sunday night football game, and we have a Monday night football game as well. Before we dive into all of them, let's dive into the lines that are currently up on BetUS right now. All of the Week 7 lines are currently up on BetUS, including the first game within the division this upcoming weekend, and it is that interdivisional game. The Bengals on the road against the Browns. The Bengals are currently a 5.5-point road favorite over the Browns in this 1 p.m. matchup on Sunday. If you want to get in on that game and all of the Week 7 games, you can take advantage of the promo code we have going on for you right now over at BetUS. The promo code is YouTube150. That'll get you a 150% sign-up bonus on your first deposit up to $2,000 and 125% bonus on your next two deposits after that. So let's start there with the first game in the 1 p.m. window. Interdivisional matchup. It's Zay versus Zim, the battle of the Z's. This Z will swing it over to Bobby to see what his thoughts are on this one between the Browns and the Bengals. What do you got for me, Bobby?
Well, we mentioned it on our live stream earlier in the week, right? Or at least I did. I think a couple of us did, that this is an important stretch for Cincy. And going into that Thursday night game coming up the first week of November in Baltimore, I think that they are very capable of being 5-4, Zim. I do. And that game being very meaningful. It'll be meaningful regardless, but this is a current stretch, a soft stretch, if you will, which began with the Giants on Sunday Night Football for Cincy. A couple get-right games, whether it be the Vegas and the New York game. We'll see what Cleveland has in store, Zay, but them playing spoiler like we all think they might at some point this year, it's a little bit too early for that. I think we're going to see that towards the back half when it's really irrelevant. And so I think the Bengals get it done. It was a clunker on Sunday night, and that offense was suspect. The fact that Joe Burrow was the one that was the leading rusher, that can't happen against Cleveland. But yeah, they got enough to keep this thing going and get a 2-game win streak rolling.
Bubba, how do you see it going down between the Browns and the Bengals?
As crazy as this sounds, I'm going to go the opposite, and they're going to be the spoiler early. I just, because they have nothing else to, they're upset about, there's probably players upset about that Cooper trade. It's always a slugfest when they both, and they're just going to sleek out. Where's it at? Is it in Cincinnati?
It's in Cleveland.
In Cleveland? Okay. They're gonna. I hate to say this, but it's gonna be a close one, and Cleveland's gonna pull it out somehow, some way. I have no idea, but it'll be the early spoiler.
Zim, I'll start with you here. Battle of Zim and Zay. Your thoughts on how this goes down this upcoming weekend in Cleveland?
I'm so curious because I have a feeling. Just say it, Zim.
What?
I just want you to say it. I just want you to go.
Okay.
I know I'm excited because I want to know if we're on the same page, honestly.
You're excited.
No, I'm excited to see if we're on the same page. Yes.
Okay. Yeah, I mean, I feel like this matchup is always missing a lot of context when we play them. I remember like Joe Burrow's first ever NFL game, his second game ever, he threw for like 320 on them. The second time he saw him, he had like 400 on him. Every single time that we play these dudes, the context is taken out. And there's a lot of Z-Bot, I heard you in the last segment saying you feel sorry for these guys. If you were in your division and you had them like how you feel about any of those other teams, like the Dolphins or whatever, you wouldn't feel sorry if you lived my life. I'm telling you. If they win games, they talk more than anybody on earth. The Bengals want to just get this dub and get up out of there. I don't feel any type of way about anything other than we need to salvage our season. Everything has been a disappointment thus far. I do see the matchups and the things that I feel like the Browns can do well. Myles Garrett can do, he can do what he does. I think for the first time ever, I can confidently say that the Bengals have a better offensive line than they've ever had, right? But you saw the ingredients last week with the Giants and Dexter Lawrence and company running stunts and all these different things in the interior. I feel like it's the biggest weakness of it. On the outside, Orlando Brown and Amarius Mims have given Joe some of the best or most time that he's ever had to even hold a football. As long as you're protecting Joe Burrow in this game, I just don't see any type of way that the Browns have a chance, because they're going to want to lean on the emotions of Nick Chubb and all this other stuff, whether he's on a pitch count or not. But just like when we play the Ravens, they're not going to allow that. They're going to say, Deshaun Watson, you have to beat us. You have to throw. And if you're going to throw, you need to throw for throw with Joe Burrow, the same way Lamar Jackson did 2-3 weeks ago, whenever that game was. I think the Bengals win this game comfortably by 10 points. I think this is open at 3.5, and I think it's now at 4.5 or 5 on the road.
5.5. The Bengals are favored on BetUS.
5.5 on the road. I got the Bengals winning by like 10, and I think that the Browns at that point would implode. And this is the season on the line for them. Night, everything, if they were to lose this game. And I think it's their version of the Super Bowl. When they play the Bengals, it's their version of the Super Bowl every year anyway. But now it has extra ramifications, because if they lose and they got to look at this face when they come back on this show next week, they're not going to like it.
Zay, talk to me. Got similar thoughts or something different?
If it's our Super Bowl, then damn, we got like 5 of them in the past 3 years or however many days. Y'all can't beat us.
We won 2 out of the last 3.
Actually, though, this game actually opened up at -6. So the spread actually went down a half a point, which is kind of weird. But, you know, the Browns have no business winning this game. But for other reasons, I would be terrified, honestly, because number one, the Browns have absolutely nothing to lose. Number two, like I mentioned, the one thing that can bring this city any type of life is 24. And the little glimpses that we got, there's the little clip of, you know, Nick Chubb in his locker room right before the press conference, and the players just all doing this hype thing. Like, you could just see it. You mix all the emotions together. It's just going to be an emotional game. And Bengals-Browns is already emotional as it is, for it being the AFC North battle that it's always been between us two in the Ohio battle. So I'm expecting, I mean, I don't really know what I'm expecting. I'm expecting high desperation energy football. Juan Thornhill is, I believe he's coming off the IR. I don't know if he's going to play this week. Not that will matter at all. But I think Joe Burrow puts a lot of respect on Myles Garrett in this defense. He's been on record plenty of times saying that you'd lose 2 if you had to go up against Myles Garrett all the time. So it's definitely going to be one of those things where the Browns have a chance just off of recent history, but we really have no business winning this game. But I'm the Browns fan, and I'm going to take us to win. So let's do it. We're going. You
don't have to.
I'm going to go. I'm going to go 19 to 18. Browns.
Ooh, wow. I'm excited for this one, because if the Browns somehow find a way to win, as much as it's felt like it's been awful in Cleveland, the Bengals and the Browns would have the same record if Cleveland finds a way to win this game. So I'm hoping it's a good game. I'm excited for this one. I'm also excited for the Sunday night football matchup, because we got a lot of storylines going into this game. Right now, you have your 4-2 Steelers, Bubba, going into this one against the 2-4 Aaron Rodgers-led New York Jets. The Aaron Rodgers-led New York Jets are now trying to be led by Davante Adams as well offensively. The Jets go out and get Davante Adams this past week after their loss to the Bills. And then in Pittsburgh, it's looking like there could be a quarterback change. Russell Wilson could be the starting quarterback in this game on Sunday night, taking over for Justin Fields, despite the fact that Pittsburgh just put up over 30 points this past week against the Las Vegas Raiders. We'll go take a look at the line here on BetUS, and the Jets are a 1-point road favorite against Pittsburgh under the lights on Sunday Night Football. Can't wait for this game. A lot going into it. Bobby, I'll start with you. How do you see it going down in Pittsburgh on Sunday Night Football?
Oh, man, there's so many dynamics to this, most of which that are off the field, right? And I think I hinted in our most recent live stream that I felt like the Steelers might spoil this reuniting for Devontae and Aaron, but I just can't convince myself of it. Zay just mentioned desperation, right? Desperate football. Sometimes that can bring out the best in you. And 40-year-old Aaron Rodgers knows it's now or never. And when you get Devontae, there's a built-in level of trust there between the two of them. And I think it's going to open up an immeasurable amount of opportunities for Garrett Wilson, who's already morphing into a tremendous wide receiver for the Jets. And so, if they can run the ball a little bit and they can make sure that TJ Watt doesn't game wreck this game and keep Aaron out of harm's way there, because let's be honest, what's not been talked about enough, probably just given the shit show circus that it's been around the Jets, is Aaron's health and that ankle. I think it's the ankle, right? That he was rolled up on.
Everything. He's getting nailed routinely every week.
Right. And the awkward roll up in London, I think, has probably been not talked about enough, just given his age, given everything that's been taking place around him. So I will go with the Jets. I don't feel great about it. But because of the amount of change that's going on in Pittsburgh as well, and how much they're under the microscope at quarterback, and being that Russ is going from essentially cold turkey to a starter, at least that's what we think as of right now at the time of this taping, there's going to come some growing pains there with his new team.
Yeah, it does feel like a must win. And not that it isn't obvious that it's a must win, but the Bills also have the Titans. So if the Bills win over the Titans, they go to 5-2. If the Jets lose this game, they go to 2-5. And it starts getting real tough finding a way for these Jets who have gone all in to try and make a playoff run here. So Zim, with that in mind, who do you think gets it done on Sunday Night Football between the Jets and the Steelers?
And Devontae Adams is going to play.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I got Jets. I think, I got Jets. The one thing I didn't bring up in the Steelers game and the Raiders, I thought Cam Hayward had a sack. There were pressures. They had some pressures from the corner. I think Dante Jackson, I think he had like 2 pressures in the game too. There are some other pressures. You had the TJ Watt. I think if they were going to like win this game, they would have to be so dominant up front, because now Aaron has what all good quarterbacks kind of usually, like the good organizations put around them. He's got a plethora of weapons now. Like they got the kid Braylon Allen. They got Breece. I think Breece Hall is like a little dinged up. I don't know, but like, I mean, y'all know Garrett Wilson was leading the league in targets. Now he's got that. He's got Lazard as like a 3. I just don't think that the Steelers could score with them. And I think like now the Jets are now, instead of a 20-point per game team, I think they're now like a 24-point per game team in my mind, right? And I always like their corners. I just think that matchup is not one. Steelers rarely are going to run into a defense that's going to play them just as tough. I am a little skeptical about your division, Z-Bot. Sometimes they run into us and it doesn't look as tough, but the Jets generally up front look pretty cool up front to me, and they got the corners. I'm going to go Jets in this one, 21-17.
Zay, how do you think this one goes down on Sunday Night Football?
I hate, just like the one week where the Ravens were, I think they were underdogs at home, or they had when they're debacle. Somebody else in the division was underdogs when they were home. And that's just one thing I don't like, especially when it being the Pittsburgh Steelers. But, man, Aaron Rodgers getting everything that he wants. And when he had, at least during the regular season, when he's able to control everything and the narrative and the situation, you go back to the RELAX situation, the relax. This is his form of that, where it's like, hold up, I'm about to go get Brody. You saw how he entered him in on Pat McAfee. It's going to be one of those magical moments. And Zim just talked about it. He basically has his whole receiving corps that was his, which pretty much elevated his play in Green Bay in New York right now. So having Lazard, Adams, and Garrett Wilson is understood don't need to be explained. It should be a high-scoring game for the Jets. It does scare me, like I said, the underdog, but give me the Jets. I'm going to say they put up like 28, and we're going to go 28-17.
I will let it be known that the Jets have not scored more than 24 all year, and they are playing the #1 defense in the league. Bubba, go ahead. You got one more point?
Z-Bot, you sneaky guy. I know what you're trying to do here.
I just wanted to say, Bubba, Can you please go ahead and educate these fools on what the Pittsburgh Steelers?
I will try. I will try to do my damnedest. Before this quarterback controversy where Wilson will probably be starting, the Steelers were actually favored.
Yeah.
So and it just swayed a little bit. Now I believe Highsmith is coming back from injury. Jeremiah Moon filled exquisitely in for him last week. Okay. Patrick Queen has had his best game, I think, last week. So he's coming on. And you guys talked about Cam Hayward. Cam is still Cam Hayward, and Keanu Benton and Hayward in that line. I don't see them guys. I see Rodgers trying to pass, but I see TJ Watt and that secondary with Minka doing something on Sunday night and ruin this debut. I see if Wilson's going to be the quarterback, points could be had using Freiermuth, Van Jefferson, Calvin Austin. Calvin Austin is about this close to breaking a punt return for a touchdown. He almost broke one last week. So, and in Boz we trust because the Jets kicker couldn't kick, Monday night, and he's not going to kick in Heinz Field Sunday night. So it probably a little windy, but my money's on the Wizard of Boz to just, it'll be a close one. Boz is going to kick a winning field goal, probably 24-17 Pittsburgh.
After you just talked, Bubba, now I'm starting to feel like this game I think it might be a little bit like how my game was, where it's going to be a boring game.
Oh, yeah.
You know what I mean? But defensive matchup. Can I say that? I didn't hear this.
You can say that, but you know what? If we keep Aaron Rodgers on the sidelines with that Arthur Smith offense, it takes 7-8 minutes off the clock. And with Najee running the way he is, Jalen Warren's back. So we just got to, take some time off the clock.
I mean, I think if I'm a Steelers fan, I 100% want a boring game, and I want it to be defensive. Whatever. I missed. I had to say this too. Shout out to my son Uzi. I finally got a chance to prove to him that I know Joe Burrow, and I know you guys said that the game was boring or whatever. I had a ball. I just had to say that at MetLife or whatever. Shout out to Joe and his family, whatever. But he didn't believe that I knew Joe, even though he sees me with his dad and stuff like that. So I'm like, there's Joe right there. And I got a chance to introduce him to Joe Burrow. So
you weren't on when I told Zim before we got on, I'm like, Z, I was like, bro, I loved seeing that picture with you because I'm a dad myself. So I can only imagine how you felt. And I know how he felt because when I was a kid and I met any player, I couldn't imagine meeting Joe Burrow, Jamar Chase, T. Higgins. The smile on his face had to be the best feeling in the world.
It was crazy. And the crazy thing is I told Joe that his name is Uzi one time before. So Joe likes we both like Uzi Vert. So when he saw him, he's like, oh, hey, this is Uzi right here. So my son was like, what? You know what I mean? So like,
how old is your son?
He's 8. He just turned 8. He's
like
the biggest 8-year-old you'll ever see. It went kind of viral. This thing's like 1 million views or whatever. So like,
no way. I gotta check it out.
So he's seen me with T, seen me with Jamar and all that stuff. That's pretty cool and impressive to him and his friends or whatever. But Joe Burrow's a little different. So I know y'all said it was boring. I had a time of my life in that. Like, and I wanted to say that if there are Giants fans, though, shout out to them because I thought they were really cool, too.
So, Zim, I'll buy that Joe Burrow jersey if you can go get it signed for me.
Hey, see, last week, I didn't want to pull my Joe card, but when you said that and I said, and I said, did you see my face?
I'm going to come down to Cincy, and I'm gonna have a Joe Burrow jersey, and if you can get it through, matter of fact, we'll link up and we'll go do a video, and I'll buy a Joe Burrow jersey, and we'll get a whole episode out of it. That's the only way I'm buying one.
It's a little easier to sell Joe to a kid. I mean, like hey, this kid,
whatever you got to do,
just a regular guy. I don't see
whatever you got to do.
See now he's gonna be looking at me funny if I do some weird stuff. So I don't know if I can't get. See, that's why I didn't want to pull that joke. I'm trying to go off topic. I had to say that though because
I love it.
That's a cool story. Awesome. That's cool.
And to add my own personal twang on it, you and I both went to MetLife this past weekend. We both walked out of there with W's, Zim. So that right there too. Listen,
I ran into a bunch of I ate breakfast, rooftop. It was a nice place. Bills fans all over the I left, the following day, all Bills.
Yeah, the tailgate was pretty packed up, and it was a decent turnout for Bills fans, but the Jets fans do a good job of turning out. Just lucky we got out of there with a W. That game was 204 yards of penalties. So that was what we saw this past Monday. Hopefully we see something better this upcoming Monday. Dun, 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 the Baltimore Ravens, the battle of the 4-2s this upcoming Monday. The Ravens on the road against the Bucs, the battle of the 2018 draft class. Lamar Jackson taking on Baker Mayfield in a doubleheader. This is the first of a doubleheader, a weird 9 o'clock kick for a Chargers Cardinals game later on Monday night. This game, by far the better matchup, though. However, if we take a look over on BetUS, the current line, Baltimore Ravens, 3.5-point road dogs against these Tampa Bay Bucs. One of these two teams will improve to 5-2. I believe 5-2. One of these two teams will be 5-2. One will be 4-3. So with that said, Zay, who's going to be 5-2? Who's going to be 4-3 after this one?
The way I'm glad it's an NFC North opponent, but the way that the world has been in Cleveland, it would make all the sense in the world for Baker Mayfield to throw for 350 yards, 3 touchdowns, and beat the Baltimore Ravens on national television. It makes me sick to my stomach, and that's the only reason why I'm thinking of it in that narrative. But Baker Mayfield's playing really, really good football right now, man. You can't take that away from him. He's got Chris Godwin looking like he's in his prime all over again. This should be, I think the line set at 3.5 is money, because this should be one of those games where it's a last second drive and we're looking at, Tucker to kick a game-winning field goal, or whatever the case may be. Baker Mayfield trying to do something. It seems to be the staple of the show, an instant classic, might I say. But I just can't go against the numbers, and Baltimore and Lamar Jackson versus the NFC is impeccable. It's inevitable. It's Thanos. So give me the Ravens by 3. I don't know, 30-27.
Yep. Lamar's taking that 22-1 record against the NFC into this Monday night showdown. Bubba, who wins it?
Well, I do like Baker Mayfield, as like I said on past episodes. I think the Tampa Bay defense is not good enough to stop Lamar and Derrick Henry, but there's going to put up some points. So I'm going to say it's going to be a high-scoring game, and it's probably going to be 34-24 Ravens.
Zim, how do you feel about this one? Who gets it done in Tampa?
It's going to be very few times that I probably pick against the Ravens the whole entire season. Just want to give you some quick numbers. Passer rating in the National Football League, Baker Mayfield at 2nd. Completion percentage, Baker Mayfield at 4 at 70.9. Passing touchdowns, leading the national NFL, Baker Mayfield at 15. Passing yards, just a couple yards behind Lamar Jackson, is also Baker Mayfield. There's not that many teams that they're going to play that have offensive firepower. The only way, and everybody's going to remember this, the only way to beat the Ravens is to make sure that you keep Derrick Henry off the field. And the only way you could do that is by scoring points and then getting them into 3rd and distance in passing situations where they're trying to come back from behind or whatever. And then after that, you must cover on the back end. I think our corners are ass for the most part, and we didn't do enough when we played. But I think that formula and some of the stuff that we did, I think that they could implement that. And Baker Mayfield, I think, is going to finally get one for the NFC. Close game, 32-27.
Bobby, round us out. What goes down with your Ravens on Monday night?
The statistics, much like Zim just shared, are unbelievable when you look at the two offensive units as like juxtaposed to what they're doing defensively. The Ravens have the first-ranked total offense across the league. Okay, Tampa has the second-ranked offense in terms of points per game. Then you look at what they're doing defensively against the pass. The Ravens are 31st in that category entering Week 7, and Tampa's 28th. So that game prop, Z, that we got on BetUS, that's having one team get to 40, that's probably looking just maybe a little enticing going into this one. I'm not going there, but maybe it looks enticing to others. To me, I've had a hard time picking again. I got embarrassed earlier on. I picked against them a couple times this year, and I've gotten embarrassed by those predictions. And until they start showing me that offensively speaking, they're not capable of putting up 30 in their sleep, then I can't go against them. I think it's going to be a 34-28 ball game, one that that Derrick Henry continues to prove. Well, send a message to Dallas, right, and other teams that were writing it off and weren't willing to spend. So, and that NFC statistic is undeniable. Something's got to give at some point with 22-1. I don't think that's on Monday night, but I do think it's going to be a good game and always a great reminder of that 2018 draft class. You've got the beginning of it and the tail end, right, at the quarterback position, 1st and 32. So that'll always be fun. And their two careers have gone in a bunch of different directions, but I'm genuinely happy that Baker's found a home down there in Tampa.
Hey, Bobby, I have one quick question. I know we got to wrap this up. Quick question. By you giving a score prediction, telling about how you are pass defense wise 31st, and giving you think the Bucs might score 28 points. At what point do you feel like, because everybody's looking at you like the juggernaut of the NFL, I feel like you're one of the best teams. But at what point do you think that can come back to catch up with you as far as on the defensive end? Or do you think that's something that you're about to correct right now?
Yeah, that's the $1 million question. I think that's probably why they brought in Dean Pease last week. I don't know if you guys caught that, but Zach Orr's 32. He's their new defensive coordinator. I think it's been more execution than it is about him, but it has been a perfect storm, a lot of which has been on the back end. And so Dean, longtime NFL assistant, he was defensive coordinator in Baltimore from 2012 to 2017. He's kind of brought in to like calm things down, maybe alleviate and take off of Zach's plate. They're also getting Arthur Mollett back this week, or at least they expect to. Nickel corner. Hopefully he can calm things down in the secondary. So I'm with you. I mean, that's been those have been the reasons on the back end, the 5 or 6 plays and both of their losses this year, whether it's the intermediate game in Kansas City or not being able to stop Devontae Adams in man coverage in that season opener in week 2. So that is the $1 million question. They're making strides towards. We'll see what they do ahead of the deadline. I sure think it would bode well for them to go after a pass rusher at the deadline. But then again,
Za'Darius Smith is out there for he's out there for the taking.
Za'Darius, does Max want out of Vegas? He's going to be a hefty ticket. But
they want 2 firsts, is what they're saying.
This was very simple. Jeez, 2 firsts, yeah. Hey, Zay, you got 2 firsts available?
We got 1. And a lot of thirds.
They'll give it up.
Man.
There you have it, folks. The week 7 predictions are locked in. We can't wait to recap it with you next week. Should be a hell of a week with the games that we just previewed. So on the way out, make sure to hit the like button and the subscribe button. That way you're notified of that upcoming episode where we recap all of the games that we just previewed here in week 7. Also, on your way out the door, promo code's YouTube150 over on BetUS. That'll get you 150% sign-up bonus up to $2,000 on your first deposit and 125% bonus on your next 2 deposits after that. For Bobby, Zay, Bubba, and Zim, I'm your host, Z-Bot. Thanks so much for tuning in to the AFC North Roundtable, and we'll see you on the next one.